Peace to the family. Oh. Peace, y'all. Peace, love, and light. Peace to the family. Welcome back. All right. Today is another one of those powerful days. You feel me? So much going on in the cosmos. So many things going on simultaneously in real time. The best thing that we can do is dialogue, put something in perspective. You feel me? So here we are, attempting once again to look reality in its face and put things in perspective, to use high-level observations, to have a high-level conversation about things that are happening in real time so we can make sense of what it is that we're dealing with, what's taking place, what's happening, what are these energies, what are the signs and the symbols that are occurring, So here we are, 777, yes, the jackpot energy, and what is to be attained on a day such as today, where does the jackpot lay? They say on the other end of the rainbow is a pot of gold. You feel me? And the pot of gold is synonymous with the jackpot. So if I actually live in, I live in a part of town called Druid. You know what I mean? I live in a part of town called Druid, and the Druids were like synonymous with the leprechauns, and they always look for the pot of gold. And, they're always like rainbows over here. So we're always looking for the pot of gold. But you don't have to look far because, as has been foretold, gold and the sun are synonymous. I always speak about this when I'm doing my Goldwater dissertations. Gold and the sun are synonymous. They're not the same element. They don't come from the same place. Gold is older than the sun. It's more ancient than the sun. Its origins are unknown. They say that it comes from the explosion of quasar stars and things of that nature, but they're not even sure because they've retracted that information. So we can't say quite where even gold comes from. But gold is ancient. The sun is what the sun is, and the sun is where the gift is at. Today is the jackpot. What do we have to extrapolate, from the cosmos in the form of a reward? Solar energy, right? The things that are taking place with the celestial star in our sky right now, that sun, the energy that is giving off, the information that is giving off. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that we stand to benefit from if we position and put ourselves in alignment to receive. I was speaking about on my post earlier about Kabbalah and the need and the necessity. Only if you are a student of these disciplines, if you're a student of the occult, if you really want to wrap your mind around what this stuff means, you have to be disciplined, first of all, to go all the way to the river and drink the water and not get wet. What does that mean? You got to research this information and not get pulled in by this information to become part of this information. I'm not part of nobody's fraternal orders, but I can tell people that are in those fraternal orders things about those fraternal orders that they don't even know, right? It's based on the research. And look, and truth be told, you're really not going to know the essence of something if you don't get engaged and involved with it. I named myself the Blue Pill because I realized early in my life that when I wanted to disrupt something and I wanted to know something, I went inside of the system. You feel me? When I wanted to disrupt the penitentiary system that all of my friends were succumbing to and coming out of jail like they loved this shit, and it started becoming a recidivist program for them, I went inside of that particular institution and started shifting things. When I wanted to know more about Christianity, I became a pope and a priest and all of those things. When I wanted to know about traditional spiritual systems, I got initiated and went inside of those systems. When I wanted to know about the music industry, right, instead of people standing outside throwing rocks and pointing fingers, I went inside of the system and found out things for my own, on my own. right? So, and that's not for everybody. Everybody don't have the ability to go to the water and drink but not get wet. Meaning that you can get so close to something to look it in the face for what it is, but not get mesmerized or magnetized by this shit. And they tried plenty of times. I've even been in the lodge, right? But from the Moorish side of things, and I was the priest in the lodge. I was what you call an almoner. The almoner is the person responsible for health. I dealt with burials. I dealt with family sickness. I dealt with all of that stuff. All of the scorpionic things that needed to be dealt with. I came in at the 99 degree, which is the Memphis Rite. It was the first Moorish temple. We were located at 317 Claremont in Brooklyn in the Masonic, the Grand Lodge shit, right? Because once again, they know who we are. We gotta overconvince our people who we are and what their history is, to the degree where you can bust a vein in your neck. But the people who need to know, and they acquiesce when you show up in your proper persona, your proper person. When you show up as God, they treat you as such. So can't nobody tell me no different, right? Because I'm a living example. I've already experienced these things, right? And live to tell about them, right? Whereas I'm saying taking the information and giving it to the people in a way in which is digestible, what the people do with it, I think that them other people, they be like, your people ain't gonna do nothing with this information anyway, so we not even tripping. Even if you giving out secrets, them niggas not gonna do nothing with it. So people talking real heavy on the internet about gematria, right? Because they call it YouTube. But I'm like, if you don't know Masonry, if you don't know Kabbalah, if you don't know any occult sciences, what the fuck are you talking about gematria for? Right? Because you're never going to really grasp the essence of what's being done and how it's being done. You're going to be locked into conspiracy, and you're going to sound crazy like the rest of the conspiracy nuts on YouTube or now on Instagram, because they done brought the shit over here where everything is a conspiracy. Everything is someone else doing something, right? Everybody's being blamed about, the Jesuits did everything. Look, let me tell you something, that man got plans, but Allah's the best of planner or creator or God or the grand architect or whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? These people are still running plays for a force that is animating them to do certain things. They might even feel like they're in charge, but they're still working towards a grander agenda. A grander agenda. So gematria, to me, the best explanation that I could give you is that when you lift the hood or when you pull the veil back, right? Think about the Wizard of Oz. When you pull the curtains and you're looking at the machinery, the machination, the way that things actually work, that's what gematria does. Gematria gives you insight into how things actually work. It gives you the background frequency. You're eavesdropping on the grand design of the grand architect or the great, the creator. You're eavesdropping. You're looking at the numbers. Computer screen, they got something called GUI, Grand User Interface. So if you look at my screen, right, my screen got images on it. You see pictures right now. You see a picture right there. They got my name on it, Paul Eric Moreland, the number 77, right? So that's the grand user interface. But behind that screen is numbers and codes that make the picture that you're looking at visible. And you buy into the picture and think that the picture is real, and the picture is a simulation formulated by numbers and pixels. And that's how reality is. This is not physical. Case in point, nigga, you need some proof? You need some proof? Today we're gonna bring receipts. And we're gonna give you back your power. We're gonna give you the proof that you need to stop thinking so
Nobody's ready for this one.
about yourself.
This
you
probably
are
looks
grand.
It probably looks like these somatic patterns that I talk about all the fucking time. And all these things is a petri dish on top of a speaker and a light on top of it, making these cool Mandela-like patterns.
Design,
now this man made one of them in a 3D design software and took cross sections of it and put different colors to those cross sections. So using a 3D cymatic pattern, this man was able to create a perfect image using sound and light. I want you to sit and really think about this.
I want you to think about
because this is the code to reality. This is the code to the matrix, or whatever you want to call it.
Code to the matrix.
This is how energy interacts with itself to create everything that you see.
That's how it does it.
This is why cymatics and sound is so important. Vibration in general. It's all waves. And that's how we make sense of it.
All waves, man. Collapsing waves into particles, man. That's all it is. Let's not
Nobody
make
is
this
ready
shit
for this
so
one.
fanciful, man. It's not as
This
complicated.
probably looks
as it
familiar.
might be.
It probably looks like these cymatic patterns that I talk about all the fucking time. And all these things is a petri dish on top of a speaker and a light on top of it, making these cool mandala-like patterns. Now this man made one of them in a 3D design software and took cross sections of it.
Right? What does that say? What does that say? What does that say? It says breathing helps to synchronize neural network or neural abilities and cognitive areas of the waking brain. Damn, I don't got my tablet in front of me. We gonna walk our way through this shit today. We're not gonna overcomplicate. We're gonna simplify this shit, man. Where you can teach it to your children, to your babies. Right? And we're going to bring receipts on anything and everything that we have shared with the family. And again, not for self-aggrandizing purposes, just to be like, look, man, the information has been on point. Who's been utilizing it? Who's been testing it? Who's been testing the chin of this shit to see if the chin holds up or not? Before you come and tell me that something don't work, how many times have you tried it? Or attempted it? I don't like the word try. When we did a live yesterday, me and Akibalon, explaining how to access 777 energy and energy beyond, period. How to access planetary energy, cosmic energy, period. Right? It's through breathing. It's through learning the methodology of breathing, the mathematics of breathing. I've been teaching a technique called 4-4 breathing for 2016, 2015, or whatever. We have showed and proved. We gave the receipts for the quantum meditation that we did on 4/40/2020 when we shifted to Schumann resonance. Right? When, as family, we synchronized our breathing. We did quantum breathing techniques. Right? And a quantum meditating technique which was really centered on breathing. So it says breathing helps to synchronize neural activity in cognitive areas of the waking brain. So what does that translate to? Breathing properly, right, will put you in theta. Shout out to my brother, the Black Airbender. I really, really, really love what he's doing, simplifying and globalizing the conversation around breathing, the importance of breathing. Shout out to any and every healer who has keyed in on the breathing. Shout out to the yogis. Shout out to Hank Robinson's. You know, I mean, there's so many people like my brother Just B. There's so many people that I could think along the journey who have helped with the breathing. You know what I'm saying? The breathing. You feel me? So breathing helps to synchronize neural activity in cognitive areas. The cognitive area means the area of your brain where you are aware. Your cognitive means knowing, learning, being aware, right? There's a way that you can enforce it, or expand upon it by learning breathing techniques and breathing while you're awake, right? And what you're doing when you're slowing down your exhalation, you're creating a condition for theta waves. Akibalon gave the very detailed science about how that happens yesterday on our live. I recommend that you catch it. It's on his page. I might have even shared it in my stories. But you want to catch that scientific explanation so you can have the mental visual support as to what you're doing when you're slowing down your breathing, when you're concentrating on your breathing, when you're doing abdominal breathing, and knowing when to switch to thorax breathing, right? I've been getting trained up on that in the gym as of lately, how to switch from abdominal breathing to thorax breathing, because it's not just all abdominal breathing. You feel me? So you have to know these techniques. You gotta know when to switch it on and switch it off to your mutual benefit, or else you're not doing it. You're just not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, respiratory system shares neural pathways and connections with brain regions involved in cognition, right? The respiratory system. So, case in point, when you get scared, when you get flustered, when you get frustrated, right? You get into quick, short breaths, right? Right? You get into breathing like that when you're scared. You all shoulders. You feel me? Your sympathetic nervous system is thrown off. It's signaling to your body that is what? Fight or flight is taking place. Cortisol is releasing. This is where society keeps you at all times, right? Shout out to my brother Jamal. We was sharing some of this information in the gym earlier. Okay? This is where society wants to keep you at all times. Short breaths. Fire breathing. Right? Where you can't slow things down to a degree on the exhale, right? Or what Keebalon called it the other day, having the breaths, halving the breaths. 1-4, 1-8, right? 116, 132, 164. What does that look like? Let me do a 1-4 for you. Let me do a 1-8. Let me do a 116. That's halving the breath, right? You're pulling up, right, on a meter count, filling up the belly or the bowl with the air, and then you're flushing it out. You feel me? Almost to the degree where you feel lightheaded. You're creating your own endorphins in your brain. You're creating your own dope. Okay? You're turning your water to wine and getting yourself drunk off of breath. Right? Just going through repetitive breathing throughout the day, catching your rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Catching your rhythm, catching the rhythm of the breathing, synchronizing your breathing, owning and controlling the moment. You know what I'm saying? So you can properly push that breath out. All right, let's see what we got here. It says the main takeaway of our study is that breathing is a major pacemaker in cognitive areas in the waking brain. So these things need to be done while we are awake, so we can magnify the centers of our brain that's responsible for cognition. Cognition is consciousness, it's awareness, it's focus, it's learning, it's adaptability. It's a brain that is actually working and thriving and moving forward. It's you know, it's the magic that we're speaking about. You feel me? How do you get into the zone in a waking state? You got to get into theta. How do you do that? By properly breathing. Right? So they said the main takeaway of our study is that breathing is a major pacemaker in cognitive areas of the waking brain. Basha told Sykes-Post. During exhalation, prefrontal regions go into a gamma oscillation and synchronize with the nucleus nucleons in the thalamus, an area which acts as a crucial link between the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is the memory centers, right? The hippocampus is what's retrieving information that has been stored, right? Memory, meme, water, right? It is bringing that back to the forefront, to the prefrontal cortex that's dealing with the now. So that's hemisync. You're synchronizing your now moment, your now experience. You're on some Sankofa, reaching back into the crevices of the store, of the treasure, of where you've stored memories and information, and then you're bringing it up forefront for real time. So I can make, in my mind, it's like me making the connections that I'm making. I'm pulling from the past in real time, making connections in the now. Yeah, go through your stretch routines. Hold your arms over your head. You know what I'm saying? To open up the lung capacity, your thorax. Right? Get the blood flowing. You feel me? Do cardio before that. You could do a real quick cardio jump. You could do jumping jacks. You could do sprints. You could do lunges. You could do squats. You could run in place. Just do something that's going to activate that cardio. By facilitating long-range coordination across the cognitive network, breathing cycles can impose specific time windows that promote cognitive processing. This may explain how breathing exercises or the conscious control of breathing and meditation can manipulate cognitive and emotional states. So, like, I ain't even gonna complicate this shit. You feel me? What do we have to do as a community to turn the tides on things that we have been grappling with, that we haven't necessarily got the results for, that we've been looking for? Nigga, we need to breathe together. We need to breathe together. You feel me? We need to practice group breathing, synchronized group breathing. Right? That's how we'll turn on our superpowers. Synchronized group breathing. Succinct, synchronized group breathing. So everybody being on one accord with their breathing and their breaths and synchronizing, right? And understanding the importance of exhalation as much as inhalation, right? That exhale is so important. It's where the magic really happens. You feel me? Full flushes. Just pushing it out. Expanding that region. Feel me? The gamma rhythm is a specific pattern of activity in the brain characterized by the oscillations in the gamma frequency around 30 to 80 cycles per second. It is a prominent feature of brain activity and is associated with various cognitive processes, including attention, perception, memory, and consciousness. They talking gamma, I'm talking theta, right? All of that they speaking about, accessing all of that in real time. Attention, perception, memory, and consciousness. You know, this is how they are explaining scientifically the methods in which you can access this in real time and be in the zone. This is for the freestylers, right? If you want to freestyle, if you want a freestyle fanatic, right? These are the processes scientifically that's being explained that are engaging your brain activity when you're freestyling. These are the parts of your brain that are being engaged. You feel me? And that's why hip hop or rap or freestyling, all of that is contingent on breath control. You got to check in with that first. You got to master the breath before you become a master MC. You feel me? So it's a discipline that's already built into a modality that we interface with as a culture, as a people, especially those of us that are artists in the culture. Right? Variance in movement activity comes from sensations that we evoke by our own movements. Breathing is one of those behaviors that stimulate a surprisingly large set of senses, ranging from mechanical and thermal sensations evoked by air flowing through the nose, olfaction, the feeling of chest expansions, chemosensation from fluctuating CO2 and O2 levels, and even hearing, which can be stimulated by the sound of airflow. Feel me? By the sound of airflow. So all of this, man, holds prominence in our daily practices. You know, the things that we're willing to do for ourselves to get better, to better know the vessel that we exist in. You exist in this vessel. You know what I'm saying? This vessel is already retrofitted to do what it do. This is like the iPhone. You bought an iPhone 13. That shit can do all kind of things. The fact that you only know how to take pictures and save them, or you got 1 or 2 apps to use, and that's all you know on the phone, that's not the phone's fault. That's your fault. You have neglected to fully get to know the functionality of your phone. It's the same thing with your body. You have failed to get to fully know the functionality of this magical vessel. The only thing that you know is that your melanin is popping, but you can't explain it. You know what I'm saying? You can't explain it to somebody else if they ask you, well, what's the process of how that actually works? You know what I'm saying? So I can teach it to my children. You feel me? You can't explain it. You regurgitating something that you heard somebody else say. Right? You haven't really experienced it to a degree where it's so much part of you that it's like, oh, I could tell you this shit with my eyes closed because I understand it inside out. It's a meme. You're running with meme magic. But have you experienced it yourself? Have you made this body do things, you know, that defy all logic? You know what I'm saying? Have you gotten to that space with it yet? Have you spent that amount of time with yourself yet to get from the body what is given? And if not, then do we owe it to ourselves to go back in? You know what I'm saying? To go a little bit deeper. See what it's really, really hitting for. Yeah, so I'm going to post the article one more time. I highly recommend that you guys go and research this article and read it in entirety for yourself. You know, this is something you need a little folder with links for certain articles. When we drop the articles, go and get the article and read the whole article. And it could expose something different to you that I might have overlooked. You know what I'm saying? These articles are heavyweight pieces of information. You know, the scientists, these people are not the most brilliant people on the planet. They're coming into a lot of ancient information and considering it new. But they're giving up the information. You know what I'm saying? It's accessible. And you can benefit by just picking up on it and reading it for yourself and seeing it. What is it? It might do something totally different from you. It might be something that you need in the now moment that makes sense for something that you've been wrestling with. Or it might inspire you to get on your game, your A game. So the website is called PsyPost. Right? Yeah, I'm going to post it at some point, but, you know, you could go Google it. Breathing helps to synchronize neural activity in cognitive areas of the waking brain. Right? So we got that out the way. The importance of breathing. We spoke about the importance of sound and light, how it actually creates images of beings. Right? So you are a composite of sound and light materialized into what we consider to be a physical form. It's not physical, just like the atom is not. The atom is 90% space, just like you are, right? You're not a physical being. You're not, you're keeping it solid, but you're not solid. You feel me? You fluid as a motherfucker. You 90% water. You know what I mean? Don't let these terminologies throw you off. Right? So we focused on that. The water, the image, the sound, the light. Right? So then now we can really speak about the psyops. And the psyops is, what did they do with the sound frequency to offset us as a people, right, to throw us off from materializing what our true intent was. So I've been waiting on this for a minute, right? And I had really wanted to speak about MUTULU Shakur about 3 or 4 weeks ago after I seen the Dear Mama documentary, right? Rising Power, we know that the brother made transition earlier today, I believe. He was recently released out of the clutches of the authorities. He's been incarcerated for 36 years. Okay? He's been released out of the clutches, and he was released to his family so he can die a peaceful death, right? Of which he transitioned with his family, I believe, earlier today. May he continue to rise in power. Ironically, today is the 777 day. As I explained on one of my posts earlier, in gematria, in esoteric circles, we understand the number 77 to mean pillars, right? Just like my name, as you can see, my name in gematria equals 77. I am the twin pillars. That's not by choice. That's just what it is. You feel me? It is who I am. So the number 77 specifically deals with the pillar of Boaz. So there's 2 pillars. Let's go back to the images, right? In masonry, there's twin pillars, right? Boaz and Jachin, okay? Boaz and Jachin. And then there's a middle pillar, right? There's a middle pillar. And that middle pillar is called Darth. Or, you know, like how Darth Vader, right? So this middle pillar, in the middle, is the hidden pillar. It's the unseen pillar. It's Darth Vader. It's the dark pillar. The other pillars are called Boaz and Jachin, which stands for strength and beauty, right? Strength is Leo, beauty is Venus, right? Masculine, feminine. Oz, which is the number of 77, stands for Boaz, which is one of the pillars. The number really is 79, but you could fudge it and still say 77, as taught to me by the Kabbalah god A.A. Rashid. So 77 means sacrifice, also in gematria, but it means Oz. It means pillar, right? So today, ironically, we see the death of the last pillar, right, of the Shakur dynasty, excluding, of course, let's say Assata Shakur, right? But MUTULU Shakur was such a prominent piece. I want to give him his just due. Growing up in New York City in the 80s around a family that was dealing with healing and that was prosecuted by the authorities, they would always speak about MUTULU Shakur and the sacrifices that he made for our people. So let me make this very clear. Once again, growing up with Sabi, with Dr. Sabi, and going on that healing odyssey, it was not welcomed by the community. It was not well received. It was not paraded, right? And it was targeted by the authorities, by COINTELPRO. You feel me? By federal authorities. Okay? They attempted as best as they could to shut down that operation and to prosecute my mama, Sabi, and my aunt for healing the people during crack cocaine, right? And they were dismissing the falsehood about HIV. So the main op that they had that ran down on these people was Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci was the main opposition to Sabi's operation and his, bringing herbs and everything to our people, right? They sicked Fauci on him. You feel me? Yes. Oh, Nikki McCrae. All right. Rest in peace, right? To her as well. The Memphis Mystics. So the number 7 is a very mystical number. It's associated with the 7 Pleiades, the 7 sisters. But we know that Tupac had an entire theory based around the number 7s. He called it the 7-day theory. And he continuously shows up with these 7s. You feel me? I think that it's been 27 years since he's transitioned. But he was cold on the 7th. He died on the 7th day after being shot. there's so many sevens that coincide. I remember even Machiavelli, I believe, came out on November 7th, which was a Friday. I remember that shit because I walked to the Wiz to buy that CD. It was the only CD that I've ever purchased, right? Because I was a booster. I used to get paid. Let me not get into that. Anyway. But I actually purchased this CD. I coveted, you know, owning it and making a contribution to this man's legacy by making a purchase of his product. But back to the story. So MUTULU Shakur embodied the sacrifices made on behalf of our people that have never been rewarded. Like, we don't celebrate our political prisoners. We don't celebrate the people who put it on the front line. And MUTULU was like the last standing barrier between the streets and our people, right? When they took him down, it was a wrap. That's what I'm really trying to say. Because as much as he puts on for the people, and they showed this dichotomy in the movie Panther, not Black Panther from Marvel, the movie Panther, I think Mario Van Peebles, one of them, did this movie. It was about the Black Panthers out of Oakland. And they showed how the police empowered the hustlers to get rid of the revolutionaries. Because the police are tethered with the hustler to sell the coke and the dope and the prostitution. All of that is a racket that the police benefit from. The people who's a thorn in the side of the hustlers and in the side of the police are the revolutionaries who are attempting, right, to create a better situation for their community and their people, right? The revolutionary was compromised by COINTELPRO, but COINTELPRO was assisted and exasperated by the hustler in the street who was willing to pick up the drugs and sell them for the police. So niggas that's selling and hustling have always been in bed and tethered to federal authorities because the federal authorities have always been the plug. Look, I'll take this shit even back for, God damn it, look, and I hope you Google this shit. Some motherfuckers could come back and be like, yo, you don't know what you're talking about. The biggest, and we watch this shit on TV and don't know the background history of it. The government of the United States came to the mafia, right, in the 40s. Lucky Luciano in particular, peace God. They went to Lucky Luciano because they needed access, right, to northern Italy, and because they was at war with Mussolini in World War II. So they went to Lucky Luciano because Lucky Luciano had the ear of what was called the old mustaches, and the old mustaches are the mob bosses in Italy that never made it to the U.S. that don't speak English, right? So they get Lucky Luciano to do them a favor and speak to the bosses. They allowed them to safe passage through the mountains so they can come around the back, right, and hit Mussolini and them. As a return favor to Lucky Luciano for giving them the plug to the mob bosses in Italy, right? They turned a blind eye because Lucky Luciano said, we got dope coming from Versailles. It was called Corsica. Now you got to understand the Moorish history of the Corsicans, the Corsican pirates. The dope came from France. It was called a French Connection. That's why I already told y'all, I'm not a fan of France, right? The Versailles Connection or the French Connection is when they brought a level of dope, right? They brought tons of it to the States. And once Lucky Luciano got the you know what I'm saying? Once he got that payload here, right? Once he got that motherfucking doozy, and you got to understand the economical markups on doozy. So then this goes back into business and commerce, because if a true capitalist, you're not going to get no better return on a product other than dope. So if we speak in capitalism, you can't exclude the dope. Let's go to, so he brings the dope in, right? And he starts, you know, dealing with uptown hustlers like eventually, you know what I'm saying, Bumpy Johnson and what have you, right? Let me put this on the record. In 1968, they come out with a PDF called The Negro Family, written by Patrick Moynihan, who ends up being the senator of New York later on, but he was just, in Congress at this time. Patrick Moynihan says in the Negro Family PDF, which you can Google, right? Matter of fact, Google the section of it called the Tangled Pathology. I believe it's called the Tangled Pathology. But the Negro problem, the Negro Family was called a PDF. They were chastising the black community in this PDF for not controlling their underworld. They said, look, y'all are a disadvantaged undergroup because no other society has the women leading, right, or teaching the children. So they wrote us off as a people because they said that it's impossible for women-led household to raise productive members of society, strong men. So they rewrote us off in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? And he called it, what did he call it? He didn't call it manumission. There was another tactic that they said that they was like, y'all are persona non grata. We're not going to touch y'all no more. We ain't going to throw no services your way. Fuck you niggas. You know what I'm saying? You got to do good with what you got. And you better take advantage of the underworld. You better take advantage and control your own drug markets, because that's where you're going to get your real fortune. Just like the Italians before you, just like the Polish before you, and just like the Jews before you. That's what they told them. They said, man up and control your underworld markets, because it's impossible for any ethnic group to have upward mobility in this country if you do not control the underworld. And we don't control the underworld to this day. It's a facade, just like Atlanta. How niggas think this is a chocolate city? No, it's run by the Klan and the outer, and you know what I'm saying? They in the outer skirts of Atlanta, are surrounding you in Georgia, running the city, and they put black faces in place, and you think that this is a black city. No disrespect to Killer Mike, but this has never been a black city. There has been black politicians, there has been civil rights politicians, there have been Boule members, but they have always been in bed with their handlers. And they've never done nothing independent of handlers. And it's the same thing when it comes to the underworld, right? If you working the work, then you got the work ultimately from the big homie. The big homie's at the top. The big homie is the feds. The big homie is the CIA. Y'all sitting there and being entertained by the shit on Snowfall, but never putting one and two together. So these same individuals, this same force is what undermined revolutionaries, and the last one to die was MUTULU. Look, I'll give it to you like this, right? Pause. There's a definite dichotomy that exists. Case in point, these individuals did 30, 40, 50 years in solitary confinement in the box, and they never broke. They came home still dignified as men. They died like men standing on their feet. You know what I'm saying? And they sacrificed for people who are non-appreciative, who, took the sacrifice and peed on it, who shitted on it, who did not value the sacrifices that these elders and these ancestors made for the people when the revolution was real. They was knocking off Brink trucks, yes, but all that money was going to the people. Niggas wasn't going and getting Rolexes out the Brinks money. They wasn't getting furs and shit like they showed you in Goodfellas. They wasn't doing that. All of that was going back into social programs in the community for acupuncture to help people get off dope. Like how they showed you in The Godfather of Harlem, the Nation was doing. Shout out to the Nation of Islam for having those venues in the community. You know how hard it is to get somebody off of dope? Today we have a herb called iboga, or, they turned it into a medicine called ibogaine. And we still haven't grasped that as a community to say, yo, we need to create treatment centers in our cities and our inner cities, giving people ibogaine to help them kick dope. We're not even having those conversations. We ain't even get to the point where we taking people to the forest to do ayahuasca to help them kick dope. You feel me? We're just a captive audience at this point to the numbers running up. And more people getting addicted to all kind of opiates, and our children falling victim to the dope, to the doogie. But it all started with the U.S. government looking the other way when Lucky Luciano wanted to get, you know what I'm saying, all that work in here via the French Connection and the Corsicans, right? Who had a bone to pick with the Moors for what they did hundreds of years ago. So they like take that shit uptown to where the niggas is at, right? Because then you got the Corsicans, then you got the Italians who remember what we did to them, and they call us moolies, which is a denunciation of the original term, which is mule, which means emperor, right? It's a bastardization of the word and the term, where they almost slur the name, but the name originally is dignified. Mule Ishmael was the emperor that gave them hell. So they bastardize and they call it Muli. You know what I'm saying? So Tupac was the embodiment of that controversy. He had one foot into revolution. He had another foot into the streets, right? But his cousin said it. He wasn't a hustler. You know what I'm saying? The nigga didn't have, like, majority. What rapper do you know had an expansive coke career that they could stand on and speak on, that they're herald? The ones that even speak on it are look, niggas say Shorty Low was the truth. Yo Gotti was the truth. You feel me? I think Dolph was the truth. But there's very few rappers who rap about their success in the streets that were actually successful. Majority of these niggas was terrible crack dealers to begin with. Yeah, so they're mad at the Moors still. They're paying them back. They created a chemical warfare, and they had our children participate. And we don't understand the weight that we bear as a people who have not atoned for the sins. And I'm not religious when I speak about sins. But if I'm willing to step on you and you my neighbor, right, and I'm willing to step on you to get on my roof, nigga, then my neighbor got every right to burn the fucking house down. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna flex on somebody that's right next to you to have something that's higher than them and not think that you are gonna be the op? Eventually, you can't build a motherfucking castle in the center of the hood by doing dirt. You should not think that you can build anything on ill-gotten gains and it's gonna be foundationally sound. So it was a setup to begin with. Name me one thing that exists from the 80s from niggas crack money. And I'll wait. I'm gonna take a sip. Name me one thing that exists from the 80s or the 90s that was built with drug money. Nothing, right? So, yeah, Tupac and his crosses is a whole nother narrative. You know, how he fell into Christianity. I would like to read a book on that. You know what I'm saying? But it really, again, esoterically is because his number that he resonates with is 444. And the number 444 is the same number as Jesus. It's the same number as Messiah. So he had a messianic force, right? I can live with that because I can see it. And I'm not a Puritan, so I understand it in a spiritual context outside of religion where I'm able to appreciate what that means. Right? And I also read these Europeans, I read the majority of their books. So they got a different understanding about what messianic force is too. It's only niggas that's running around saying the shit that niggas say because they just don't know. But yeah, bro had a messianic force. So I'm not thrown by the crosses that he wear. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, go read the Sefer Yetzirah and see what they consider a Messiah. Right? Or go speak to a Hasidic Jew today and ask them who their Messiah is. They waiting on an old white man who look like Santa Claus. I kid you not. It's never what you think it is, family. So the sacrifices that was made, you know what I'm saying, behind the wall. MUTULU Black Liberation Army. You know what I mean? I haven't been to mad prisons or what have you around the country, but I damn sure know somebody that been to just about every prison around the country. You know what I'm saying? And it's always said the same thing. They like, yo, all of these dudes are always stand tall individuals in the system. All of these dudes are always OGs in the systems. You don't hear about these brothers going behind the wall and cracking and breaking. You hear about them continuously being persecuted, right? Because the Ku Klux Klan is an esoteric occult organization, and they don't forget. You feel me? So they always are pressing on these people, but these people never seem to fold, break, or bend. They really are the manifestation of what manhood looks like, the sacrifices that they made, and their willingness to pay the cost necessary and needed to say, I'm unwavering in the sacrifice that I made. I'm unapologetic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, their families have to pay the cost with them. Yeah, it's not pretty. You feel me? Yeah, none of it is. But they have never unmanned themselves. Feel me? They've not done that to themselves. So why don't they get the respect that's deserved from men in our society, in our community? I think we stopped being men a long time ago. When we bought into the dominant hierarchy, but the nigger dominant hierarchy specifically, because it does not lead to an evolutionary status of our people. Right? The emphasis is not to go from nigga to God. It's to go from God to nigga. And then where do you go from there? Case in point, right? When we talk about the real ones, I was looking for this image, right? I was looking for this image. And this is what we are championing as the culture. Because this is how this shit pans out. When you talk about the dominant hierarchy, right? The dominant hierarchy is almost like primal. You feel me? It's a situation where, yeah, the strongest nigga wins, right? Or he who has the most guns, or he who has the most bodies, or whatever's needed and necessary to keep the other niggas in check, right? I watched a special on Netflix called The Chimp Empire. Right? The dominant hierarchy that's run by niggas run just like the animal kingdom run by chimps. Right? We whether we want to believe that we derive from them evolutionary or not, we have the same social dynamics about how we show up and how we exert ourselves. You feel me? As a dominant hierarchy. So when you get to the prison systems, you have a different observation once it's stripped down and all of the bullshit is set to the side. You really get to see the true nature of men. Melanated men in particular, because the shit that they do in prisons is different than other people do, right? And you should be held to a different standard because you not them. You shouldn't be in no motherfucking prison doing what no Aryans is doing or what no Mexicanos is doing. You got a different standard. But we dealing with an identity crisis, so niggas don't know who they are. They're being programmed in real time and being told who they are, what they should be. And the shit that they looking at is Scarface and Superfly, right? All of these things that were post-revolutionary. They're not being fed any revolutionary models. All the revolutionary models in the movies that you was fed in the 90s was cornball niggas who got killed. Sharif, right? It's a bunch of other names. I don't remember all of them. But they systematically executed them in front of you and killed off the motif or the imagery. They're being smart or intelligent. You know what I'm saying? Will actually help you survive in the hood. They like, no, that's the first niggas to go. Right? So who want to be that? Who want to go to prison and not be held up and held as a champion? Right? Where the revolutionary, for the most part, is not necessarily an active member of the dominant hierarchy. In jail, they just let them niggas be. They like, oh, that's OG in them. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really fuck with them. right? But explain to me to this though. But when you get to the dominant hierarchy, the niggas that's taking tail in the jail or in the prison, those is the toughest niggas. And they booty bandits. I was looking to pull up the image of dude who was the booty bandit in Kentucky, and I don't remember his name, but he's out. And he's doing all type of interviews right now, and he's laying the game down. And he said, look, he said, I never had to take booty in the system. He said it was always given to me. And that was what I seen when I was locked up. Niggas wasn't taking booty. It was niggas that was dipping on the low. You feel me? Who's supposed to be the gangsters? So the concept in the community of a nigga who's a gangster that's not a revolutionary, you already are emasculated. Because you don't have, Fleece Johnson, you don't have a true sense of your manhood. Because you're not willing to put on for your community, for the babies, for the children, for the women. You are not the true definition of what this shit started out as. So you are only a Mandingo wrestler. You are only the niggas who was bred in the breeding farms to do what the fuck niggers do today. Right? And look, a nigga who will pick up a piece of work, a piece of crack cocaine or another narcotic, you automatically draw the line. Yeah, and I was locked up in Virginia. Okay? I was locked up in Virginia. So Virginia spills over all of the DC niggas who was no longer in Lorton. Okay? This is a conversation we don't need to have. Trust me. It's still the sun is still out, my nigga. Let's not do this when the sun is out. But if you really want to know who these niggas really is, we could have an after dark conversation, and I'll bring some supporting affidavits, and I'll bring some other niggas to the building, and we could really tell you who these niggas really are that you might be idolizing because they represent the culture. But when you get behind the wall, you see what these niggas represent. And the niggas who stand tall, right? That's like, all right, you was a kingpin and you stood tall, you got 8 or 9 bodies and shit like that. But you know what I'm saying? You here for murdering your own. You here for creating crime waves in your community that made everybody in the community unsafe. You fucked up the entire ecosystem of your community, fucked the real estate market up, and made it possible for gentrifiers to come in there and push Nana out. So now you were selling drugs to protect mama. You made her more in danger because you turned niggas in the community into zombies, and they don't have logic or rationale when it's time to get a hit. But then you made it even worse because you fucked the real estate market up by lowering the value on the property in the community. And then you got Nana pushed out. You got Nana pushed. You put the whole situation in detrimental for monetary gain. Momentary monetary gain, and forgot the revolution was to get all of this shit back. Right? And cut the motherfucking heads off these devils. Point blank, period. What happened to that? What happened to that? What happened to the Mutulus of our people? What happened to the Geronimo Pratts? What happened to the Afeni Shakurs? Right? But you seen it fail in real time. Tupac couldn't even pull it off. He couldn't dabble in both worlds. He succumbed to it because now he's running and idealizing the gangsters. And that's a weak use of a term because there's nothing gangster about these niggas, right? But he's running behind the niggas who now picked up flags. The gangs in those communities were created out of the vacuum left by the assassination of true leadership. So it's like when I met Malcolm X's grandson, right? Malcolm Shabazz. And I had to give him this one-on-one. Feel me? Locked up. Behind the wall. I said, little nigga. I said, you ain't no fucking blood superior. You don't put in work. These niggas ain't scared of you. They talk about you crazy when you not here. You received an honorary, right? They say he was like a chief blood. I'm like, nigga, all of that is honorary based on your relationship to your grandfather, based on your bloodline. By default, you became a superior. Because these niggas is bastards of the party. So there will be no Bloods and Crips if your grandfather didn't get assassinated and killed and removed as leadership. So these are the rebels without a cause. These are the soldiers that are fighting a war with no end in sight. These are stateless, what they call, like they call them niggas in Iraqi, right? You are a stateless engager. You know what I'm saying? What they call them niggas, they had a whole word for them. They got a whole word. If you're a soldier that don't have a flag to support you, you're not fighting for a government. You know what I'm saying? They got a whole word for that. Insurgents and shit like that. These niggas is insurgents. And what war are they fighting? For Benjamin Franklin's? Come on, son. Then you playing this game. You playing this game. No, they ain't calling vigilantes or mercenaries. They have a specific name when they're going to kill your ass in the war. Right? You're a stateless soldier. They got a word for that. Insurgents was one of them. They're not refugees. Right? So once again, you playing these games and shit, but you're not playing it the right way. You want the Benjamins, but you don't know nothing about masonry. You know what I'm saying? You want to be equal to white folks, but you don't got no secrets of your own. And they rule through secrecy, nigga. We are part of a cryptocracy, right? Look it up. We belong to a cryptocracy. They rule in secret. They're telling you something on the surface, and that's not what's going on. You think this is a Christian country. Them niggas is deists and masons. And we don't even know what deism is. We just lost. We don't have no education to be concerned with affirmative action, nigga. We all got to go back to school. And not to be taught by them. Yeah. Go Google that shit. Cryptocracy. Yeah. Tupac played himself. Trying to be everything all at once. You know what I'm saying? Them niggas don't love you. And that's the hard lesson that he learned. And that's the shit that his folks learned. Them niggas don't love you. What did they say happened in the documentary? Right? When they started targeting the Panthers and they became public enemy number one, the people turned their back on the party. That's why them niggas became drug addicts. Because the people turned their back because it was no longer fancy. It was no longer fancy to follow. So the people turned their back. And they was like, fuck that shit. I'm going to go with the shaft shit. I'm going to go with these hustlers. I'm going to go with the you know what I'm saying, the Superfly shit. I'm going to go with this sexy shit now. This is the shit that's getting the attention. This is the shit that the women is paying. Now they like niggas with curls in their hair and Jerry juice. They into that now. They went from afros to niggas with, you know, conks and blowouts. My father said it happened in real time. He said they went into the movie theater to see Superfly. Said they had dashikis on with afros. And them niggas came out with polyester suits with motherfucking conks. Okay? In real time. In real time. And then nothing's ever been the same. And then Scarface gave it the motherfucking death blow. I know more niggas who died emulating Scarface than Jesus, nigga. Scarface is more powerful in our community as a guiding force than Jesus Christ. How about it? I'm willing to debate anybody on that. And it's not even a debate because I got receipts. You don't know nobody that died emulating Jesus Christ. But we all up in arms about that spell. Nigga, that spell is not stronger than crack cocaine. It's not. It reinforces it, right? Because you know, the self-hate that comes with you not seeing yourself as God, and the fact that you will be willing to sell crack cocaine to someone else who you don't see as God. Because if you seen yourself as God, you couldn't sell crack to nobody that looked like you. So, what are we talking about? Right? If the realest ones is behind the wall taking buns, because the nigga said in the interview, you can't do 30 years in here and not touch another man. It's impossible. So why did the revolutionaries do it? Because none of them got none of that on their jacket. And we've checked. How was all of them niggas able to still come home as men or die in there? One of the elders, Alfred Woodard, that was part of the Angola 3, they did 44 years in the box. 44 years in solitary confinement for the sacrifices that were made for us as people that we don't recognize, realize, or respect to this day. But then we wonder why shit is so lopsided. We wonder why our people are not voluntarily signing up to pick the baton up to be like, nah, I'm gonna bang on this system until this motherfucking job is done. Until we get what's ours. Until you put some respect on our name. Right? So then what we're left with, these conversations online about our women and shit is, popping off like forest fires on my timeline all week. This is shit that weak niggas do. This is not the thing of God. This is not, you're not, you know what I'm saying? This is not a conversation that an upright man is having about his counterpart. No, the niggas is off. And the women is off as a result. Who do they have to follow? Who do they have to follow? Those dignified men and women, Assata Shakur, still on the run. Still standing on her square. Still living dignified. These are dignified ancestors and elders. I want you to see them. Even they're incarcerated, even in their state of incarceration, look how dignified they look. Think about Mumia Jumal. Think about Mumia to this day. Think about all of these individuals when they was political prisoners. Even Mandela. Think about how regal they looked, standing on something that they believed in. Think about it. Think about when you see them pictures of Martin Luther King. You don't feel for that nigga because he's locked up. You like, yo, I see the strength in that. I see character in that. You know what I'm saying? I see willingness to sacrifice your vessel and your temple for a higher cause. And when you succeed, the shit, it kind of like folds time and space together. You get stronger. Right? The heroes of this culture, the ones that we put at the very top. You feel me? I mean, the shit that they stand on, that they take credit for, is faulty. It's a faulty flex. It's a faulty flex, my nigga. You can't flex on the fact that you destroyed your community and stepped on people that look like you. That's not the flex. When so many people made the necessary sacrifice, when it was about sacrificing, when it was about us doing better as a people, when it was about us pushing back, when we wanted to fight the program. MUTULU Shakur was doing acupuncture in the Bronx, right, to rival what was being done with dope at the time. Right? There was a byproduct of what initially Lucky Luciano started with the dope, with the doozy. You feel me? When he brought it to Harlem and partnered with Bumpy and them. Yeah, what happened with the campaign to free Larry Hoover? Right? And free Larry Hoover. Free the bros, right? And that's the political prisoners that we talking about. Free Jeff Fort. Feel me? He's trying to get financial freedom other than freedom from finances. Yeah, But yeah, we get prison reform by way of Meek Mill, bunny hopping with Mike Rubin. And and that's how they co-opt movements. That's how they co-opt movements. You feel me? So I wanted to speak some respect on the name of MUTULU Shakur by being one of the last pillars, you know, in this narrative, the story of the Shakurs and what they represented by way of revolution and the sacrifices that this entire family has made for our people. I'm humbled, you know what I'm saying? I'm humbled. Just to be in the face of the narrative, just to be able to tell this story, I'm humbled. You know what I mean? I'm humbled. Shout out to all of the Shakurs, shout out to the Africas, Pam Africa, and all of the Africas from Philadelphia who got bombed. The MOVE movement, you know, our government dropped bombs on these people. You feel me? All our people wanted to do was get some relief for us, put some respect on our names. You know what I'm saying? And push back against a corrupt government. Is anybody in denial that you belong to a corrupt government? So why can't we force these people to practice the shit that they preach? Why can't we force these people to abide by the tenets of their documentations that they say that they are, you know, tethered to by law to abide? Why us and not them? Feel me? So yeah, I learned more about Tupac this year than I've ever known about him, and you know what I'm saying, in all of the years of his existence. I learned more about his mama. You know, I learned more about it. I learned more about his mother on both ends. I heard his father finally speaking on the situation. His father had something to say. I'm hearing commentary with his cousins. I'm hearing commentary with the girl that he used to deal with. I forget her name, but I remember reading about her in the source. She was with him when he got locked up. You know what I'm saying? She trooped this whole bit with him. They were supposed to have got married. Desiree was her name. I'm seeing her interviews. I'm seeing the interviews from, you know, from Clep about Pac. I'm seeing the interviews about Big, you know, how Pac had a shrine to Madonna set up in his crib. I'm understanding the role that even Madonna played in the culture. And I'm able to remove my emotions from it and take a high-level observation of what's going on. To have an appreciation at the same time, to be like, yo, these people they still play the pinnacle part. I can't remove that history, so I gotta acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? And the truth about she, you know, Madonna was responsible for the maturation of Tupac's masculinity by way of sexuality. She introduced him to things. And she gave him the confidence in order for him to have that level of swagger. That level of approach that he had. But when he initially met her, he was intimidated. She invited him to a threesome, and he couldn't pull through. He wasn't ready. Yes, but also understand and appreciate the role that she played, and ultimately what would become the demise of Tupac, because she became the controversy between him and Jack. And then he tried to Captain Save-A-Ho, you know what I'm saying? He tried to come back to her and write the letter and be like, yo, you know, I don't know about Jack and them. You know, it was too late. Both of y'all was in over your head, fucking around with Brooklyn gangsters. Yeah. So she played a pinnacle role in that. The highs and the lows. It wasn't her fault. It was not her fault. It was a power struggle, right? He got caught up in a power dynamic and did not understand the rules of the game, because this is the shit that your elders and your OGs teach you, right? So him being excommunicated from his elders because they was incarcerated, he was out here trying to figure this shit out all on his own in a new world with new rules, right? Surrounded by a new cast of characters who don't play by the same rules that you come from, right? Kane ran through her. You know what I'm saying? But she metamorphosized Kane. She changed his career and the trajectory of hip hop forever. Cause when she commercialized Kane, and again, she got that box that when niggas go in it, before, like she was that before the Erykah Badu shit. Niggas don't come out of her box the same. So she had Big Daddy Kane doing shit that we never seen Kane doing, and that's when niggas, Kane is still trying to get his name back after 30 plus years from fucking with Madonna. You understand? And it was the same thing. She got Graveyard Cat because Pac wasn't the same, Kane wasn't the same, and any other else nigga that you can name was not the same after they encountered that box. Huh? She is the Madonna. She is the motherfucking she is the whore of Babylon. You know what I'm saying? She catches bodies. Feel me? Yeah. Yeah, Drake ain't want no parts of that. Couldn't fuck with that. No, not the new Badu. Badu is the new Madonna. Nigga, it ain't the other way around. Madonna's not the new Badu. Badu's the new Madonna. Right? Madonna got a track record. These niggas was not the same after her. So, yeah, so that, you know, all of these things are in the news right now. You know, Madonna had to be brought back from life. I look at that as the symbolism of who she is and what she represents. You know, the culture that she helped give birth to, as the immaculate conception of the culture that she helped give birth to. You know, the fullness, the full expression of that shit is now black women arguing online about the Essence Fest. Jill Scott coming at Janelle Monáe, Meg Thee Stallion, Keke Palmer controversy, right? All of this shit can be looked at and branched as this is all derivations or iterations that came out of the counterculture moves that Madonna made first, wearing lace in public, going against the church, talking that talk, commercializing sexuality in a way that was never done, right? Madonna gave birth to this shit. Not these other broads. Madonna. She's the mother. Not these other women. Madonna. And the women who did not follow that script. Okay? You want a high level observation? The ones that did not follow that script are the ones who are the mainstays in music today who have never been disrespected. But the women in hip-hop who have retained the level of respect are not the women in hip-hop who are heterosexual, right? The ones who retain the respect and advance the culture are part of their LGBT community. They did not dance to Madonna's tune. They did not get sucked in by the traps that they were setting in the industry. Latifah, MC Lyte, right? We could throw Missy in there, and we could throw the Brat in there. Right? You never heard no disrespect on these women. They're respected. They're icons. They're still involved in the business to this day, and they opened up mad doors. They was trendsetters. Not Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill is not part of this discussion. Lauryn Hill is not part of this discussion. Lauryn Hill been disrespected by Tupac, nigga. And it was not defended or dealt with. Said he wanted to kill her. Lauryn Hill was not protected from disrespecting this industry. Trust me when I tell you. Right? They sent her to jail. So yeah, I just wanted to share these observations about these things that hopefully we could sit down and talk about someday, get an idea of what we really doing. You feel me? But for now, 777. Again, this is that jackpot energy. You know what I mean? You want to tap into the latent energy that's available, right? You want to get it through breathing. You want to master your breathing. Why would Ye wouldn't be at the white party? The white party was a is a consortium of Jewish businessmen, you know what I mean, who are showing their allegiance that, look at the niggas that are connected to us. Look who we got as hitters. Right? Look at the ensemble of friends that we can, go to. None of these niggas share Kanye's sentiment. You on an island by yourself. So no, that they want to have Kanye there. Yeah, Kanye don't bunny hop either. So it's not his company. That's not his environment that he keeps. You feel me? The concentration and the demonstration and the focus was timepieces, right? Everybody was looking at one another's watches. You feel me? At the party, but not knowing what time it is. We are in a 40-year loop, and the 40-year loop is a quantum loop. 1943 was the Philadelphia experiment. 1983 was the Montauk experiment. And in 2023, we're going to see another quantum experiment take place. We've been dealing with the quantum quickening all year. The Hamptons is down the block from Montauk, Long Island, the Brookhaven Institute where the Montauk experiment took place. You know what I'm saying? All of these things are connected. You feel me? All of these things are connected. So everybody got on a watch but don't know what time it is. That's cute. That's cute, but that's not going to cut it. Right? Everywhere I'm looking, I'm seeing it's just all white everything for the summer, right? Glorilla, seeing that all white. Everywhere I look, seeing that all white. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate that. That's a big look. Feel me? I just got on Threads the other, I think it was yesterday. Still trying to figure this shit out. I don't got the greatest arrangements or relationship with Meta, with Instagram or Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, period. I've been shadow banned, I've been surveilled over here, I've been targeted, I've been a lot of things. So I'm like, we supposed to go over there and nothing changes. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even promise us nothing. We just acquiesced, and myself included, because I acquiesced. You know what I'm saying? But they got some shit over there called the Fediverse. So we know, Facebook is Fedbook, right? Y'all don't understand it? FBI, Facebook, Instagram, y'all, that went over y'all head? Because they put all of the emphasis on the fact that the FBI is embedded in Twitter, but nobody's speaking about the fact that the FBI is embedded in Meta. You know what I'm saying? So they got, the Fediverse, you know what I mean? As the world waits on Fed now, here they come with the Fediverse. That's a precursor to the metaverse. I don't know. You know what I mean? This shit is crazy. Y'all don't have, no rights over there. They got access to everything. They got access to everything over there. You know what I'm saying? They got access to everything. Yeah, so All that data that's linked to you is available. Search history, identify. I mean, you know, it's the same as everywhere else. Yeah, the feds. Yes. And I would even go further to say social media apps and platforms are really military operations and not federal operations. There's a difference. Okay, so even when they be like Fed, we falling for it. Just like C-19, that was not a government operation, that was a military operation, right? And the military operations suggest multinational operations, right? It was not just a one country military, a global military operation. Your first example to see how military works together globally. Not business, military, right? So you can't tell me that these social media platforms that are multinational, that are dealing with all these different countries, are not military operations. They're not just federal fronts, they're military operations, right? Hence the fact that internet is a military creation. Not a federal creation. I mean, say it with me, y'all. A military creation. Okay? Where you going, girl?
To get the clothes.
Okay. Military. But we've been surveilled by the military since we were doing Blog Talk. So ain't nobody concerned with, you know what I mean? Who got their eyes on us is whatever. Nigga, I'm more concerned with the angels that are taking my motherfucking, the notes of what I do every minute for my book of life. I'm not concerned with federal, military, state or local observations of what we doing. You know what I'm saying? My secrets don't exist online. Does alcohol shrink the brain? I would imagine that it more than likely would do, because alcohol dehydrates you, and if the brain is composed of 90% water, you know, the logic is that if it's going to dehydrate you, if alcohol is shrinking the water content of your brain, then it's definitely going to shrink the brain. Yeah. And that's based on it dehydrating the brain, sucking the water out. Our plan is to make Threads part of the Fediverse, a social network of different servers operating by third parties that are connected and can communicate with each other. Right? So what is this that they talking about? What is this, blockchain? Right? Who is the third parties? Every server on the Fediverse operates on its own but can talk to other servers on the Fediverse that run on the same protocol. We plan for Threads to use a protocol called ActivityPub to talk to other servers that support this protocol. Nigga, so where's the main protocol? You feel me? Who's really in control over here? You know what I mean? Who's in control? What's the protocol? Come on now. Our vision is that Thread will enable you to communicate with people on other Fediverse platforms we don't own or control. This means that your Threads profile can follow and be followed by people using different servers on the Fediverse. Nigga, Instagram, Facebook is owned by Meta, which also owns Thread. They're not going to go into partnership with Twitter. Like, who they talking about? What outside platforms is Meta working with? None of them, nigga. All of that shit belongs under the banner of Meta. So Meta etymologically means dead. So Thread is created by a company that means dead. That's cute. That's real cute. That's cute, man. Nah, I ain't joking about this shit. This shit real. This shit real. This is a real situation, man. Life is real. This should be upfront and personal. This shit, as crazy as something might seem, I'd be like, oh shit, it's actually a reality. They didn't even think to hide it. They just put it right in the front. Fediverse. Yeah, you are connected and you're on a protocol that's run by the feds to observe any and everything that you do. I'm right there with you, but I'm shooting. Look, the shit that I'm saying, I will say in a motherfucking, you know what I'm saying? I will say at West Point. I would say it on any military base. I would say it in the motherfucking Oval Office. I would say it on a grand motherfucking standing on a stand. They already know that. So there's nowhere that what I'm saying I ain't willing to say it. So I don't give a fuck about, oh, they got us surveilled and they're listening in. Look, nigga, my files is crazy. Whoever sends a Freedom of Information Act, they can get some of my files. You know what I mean? I didn't turn agents into motherfucking woke people, goddammit. Looking at my files. Shit, they got some gems in there. I dare them to fucking open my files up. Shit. Nobody running from the truth. If they can't handle it, you know what I'm saying? They got to do what the fuck it is that they got to do. I ain't running from it. I'm not going to make it easy on them. They got to show up and show and prove. This ain't, it is what it is. But yeah, just be mindful, you know, of what this app is hitting for. Thread. It's another surveillance apparatus where niggas that you're not talking to on Instagram and Twitter, you're supposed to talk to them over there. I don't know you. We don't have a conversation. I'm trying to engage and get some interesting commentary going so I can actually learn something or lend some of my genius to the convo, but so far nobody's over there really cutting up. So if it's not an app that we can cut up on and have freedom of speech, why are we even engaging and following it? We already know the controversies that Meta was involved in. When Facebook got called out by the whistleblower, they announced, or they changed the name from Facebook to Meta to throw the people off, and we never revisited the conversation about the whistleblower. What did the whistleblower say about Facebook? They said that the algorithm is engaged with negativity specifically, right? Because negativity trends more than positivity on this app. So they're not concerned with positive. They're not concerned with consciousness. They're not concerned with uprightness, right? Because that shit don't trend. It's not. It don't go viral. It don't have no energy behind it. The more negative, the better. They said even the younger and negative, the better. And then we never had the conversation. They just changed the name, switched the convo, diverted the people somewhere else, their attention somewhere else, and we never came back. You know what I mean? And then they just hit you with new apps, and we just go deeper and deeper and further into the tunnel. Yeah, and then the child trafficking and all of this stuff that they just be doing to children. I'm just like, yo, y'all parents, you know what I'm saying, really gotta tighten up, you know, on the way that people got access to your children, the way that your children are being not only monetized but also like programmed, sexualized and everything else, and really monitored and observed, you know, because they out here snatching babies. I mean, it's just the truth of what's taking place. So be mindful, be careful, you know what I'm saying, be alert and be aware, be present. We get up out of here. I want to say thank you. Appreciate, you know, this little time that we got to spend and the opportunity that you've afforded me to speak on MUTULU Shakur's behalf. It was something that I really felt like I needed to do, because I wanted to do it for quite some time to put things in perspective after I seen the Dear Mama documentary, right? So shout out to him. Tapped out on 777. He's a giant. He's a pillar. You know what I'm saying? He's unprecedented in the level of respect that he gets from respected men and women that know him, that have know of him. The things that he did in New York City, you know, in the streets for the struggle for the revolution, you know, for freedom fighters and warriors. You know what I mean? For the people that he attempted to bring remedy to by way of acupuncture and breakfast meal programs, all of that. For the brake trucks that got knocked over, you know what I'm saying? So the children could eat, so be it. So be it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So salute to a real one. Continuously stand tall. I appreciate you all.